Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bayou Bets. It's Thursday. It's October the 12th, and we are all excited to have a preview show for you here. Thomas Casale couldn't be here with us. He's got something going on at home. So guess what? We got a double dose of Bayou Bets to help me with the show today. Spencer and Gabe are with us. What's going on, fellas? Spencer, are you ready to get some big bucks going on? Talk about some Saints, some LSU, Tulane, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, most definitely, Jim. Yeah, excited to dive into the Saints matchup. I know we've got Gabe here to give us some Texans perspective, and then yeah, big bucks, man. I wasn't the turkey, but I gotta get better. So we're trying to get better. Did a little better last week, so let's keep it going.
Gabe, again, yeah, we're bringing you on because we're going to be talking about Saints, Texans. You know, we got to have the other perspective with us some kind of way.
Yeah, good to be able to provide it. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's a breath of fresh air being able to talk about a football team here in the Houston Texans that people can actually get somewhat excited about.
No doubt about it. Mr. Horace wants to know who the turkey is of the week. Well, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but I think the turkey is trying to get away from the people, doing the Thanksgiving stuff. I'm just saying he ain't here. That's the only spoiler alert I'll give. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's waste no more time. Let's talk about the Saints and the Texans, if I can find the Saints. But they're all out of order. I'm all out of whack. It's just a messy day. Saints playing the Texans. They are 1.5-point favorites. Spencer, over under 42.5. That is the highest over under we have seen so far this year on a Saints game. And if you look at the Texans offense, you may see why the third-ranked passing offense. CJ Stroud is the 9th-ranked passer in the NFL, and I think he is the best passer that the Saints have seen this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's legit, and so I think this is the week that it finally goes over, that we see a Saints game go over with the total, because I think it's dating back to last year, it's like 11 or 12 now straight have gone under. So yeah, I think this is one where Derek Carr is going to be forced to sling it, and I see Mark pointing out that Carr's healthy again, and it shows. Yeah, he did look better in week 5, so hopefully that'll carry over, because I think it's going to have to carry over if the Saints want to win this game, because the Texans, I think, are going to give the Saints defense a little bit of trouble.
Guess who's here? We haven't seen him in a while. Jerry, what's going on? We missed you, man. I know we're not on the Saints YouTube channel anymore, so I know sometimes it's hard to find us. That's even better reason. You know what? Before we even go on, let me go back to this, because we will remind you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. See, why not always? We're always selling here. We're always selling, and we hope you're buying. Go subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. You will always know when we're on. We are no longer on the Saints YouTube channel, so the best place to find us is there, among a couple other places, NOLA.com and such. But and by the way, Caesar Sportsbook is the official odds partner of bet.nola.com. I am just a complete mess. I am not selling the things I'm supposed to be selling this afternoon. But Gabe, what are you buying? You live in Houston. I'm sure after they can get past that Astros ALCS for the 98th year in a row kind of talk, they're talking about the Houston Texans, and I know that people are fired up in Houston. They're fired up about CJ Stroud. From a Houston perspective, what do you see this weekend?
Well, Jim, first I got to comment on the whole buying and selling thing. I've been selling CJ Stroud as a legitimate quarterback since week 1, and you haven't been buying, but now it sounds like you're buying into that a little bit. So
I didn't say that.
I'm excited. You were bringing up passer ratings and all this kind of stuff to
the 9th best passer. You got the 9th best passer rating in the NFL.
Yeah,
it's
now
week 6. Yeah. It's week 6.
So I'm glad you're buying that. At the heart of it, Houston's a football city. So while the Astros are doing well once again, I mean, people are just buzzing about the Texans. And while, yeah, they're still not the greatest football team as the rankings show, but we lost to the Falcons last week. But this is still, we fielded a competent football team. And we've got some good young players, a great young coach. So Texans fans are just excited to be in games now. We can talk about these small spreads. We're not the team that's getting blown out every week. So every win is a positive compared to the last few years.
Football town, is that the reason why they have to let the Oilers go? I guess it is. I don't know. I mean, they needed a new team. They got one, and it's the 4th largest city in America. They're supposed to have a football team. Why they let the Oilers go, I have no idea. Anyway, look, here's the thing that worries me about this weekend. I think that I wouldn't say Saints fans are going gaga, I think they're relieved more than anything after last week's shutout victory over New England. But are we buying that everything is all better after that shutout win? The defense played great, but I will go back to what I said on Monday. Said it on Datitude, I said it here on Bayou Bets. If Tyrann Mathieu doesn't get that interception and that pick six early in that game, I think it's a completely different game. I'm not saying the Saints don't win because I think they still win. I think the Saints are the better team. But that kind of changed everything. Mac Jones is an awful quarterback. I think we all agree on that aspect. He might be the worst quarterback Saints have played this year, and that's saying something because they played some really bad quarterbacks. But are we buying, Spencer, that this team is all better? Again, if they don't get that pick six, I think it's more of a same kind of thing. I think it's a 13-10 kind of game, 13-7, 16-10, somewhere along those lines. It's definitely not a 34-0 shutout. That changed everything for New England, kind of sent them in the tank. And I'm worried that this game plan, can they do it 2 weeks in a row?
Right. There's definitely still some concerns with this team. And I feel like it's still the offensive line's a concern with the Texans having a solid pass rush there. Will Anderson gets to really hit his ceiling, but this could be a week that he does well with the Saints offensive line. Still not exactly where it needs to be. And the Saints secondary, I think, is going to really get tested this week. I know they've been a stingy unit so far. Marcus May's back, so I'm not saying they're a weakness, but they simply haven't been tested, though. When I evaluate teams, I look at their previous schedule, like, well, has this team been tested? And the Saints defense, especially the secondary, hasn't really been tested all that much. You go back week 1, Ryan Tannehill, week 2, Bryce Young, week 3, Jordan Love, week 4, Baker Mayfield, week 5, Mac Jones. I mean, none of those are good quarterbacks. I mean, you could say Baker Mayfield, I guess, is the best one, or Jordan Love, but come on, those guys aren't even close to being elite. So, and CJ Stroud, he's still a rookie. Can't crown him as elite yet, but he's been off to a great start. I mean, the numbers don't lie. 3rd in yards and no interceptions. So this kid's looking like the real deal. So it's going to be interesting to see if the secondary can hold up, because the Texans also have some promising weapons there. Nico Collins, Tank Dell's probably out, but Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, these like pesky chain mover type weapons. So it'll be interesting to see if the secondary is legit or not. I think this will be a good test for them.
No doubt about that. Taylor Miller brings up a point we've been talking about all year. Offensive line is the biggest concern. Penning is a liability, gets beat almost every play. I'll say this in Penning's defense, and Lord knows I have not defended Penning very much. I think he's improved since week 2. I think he's improved every game. I'm not saying he is not a liability yet. We're not quite there yet, but I think the last couple of games, especially Tampa Bay, I thought he played very well. Last week, I thought he played very well. Now, there were no serious edge rushers in either one of those games, so I'm not sure how that translates, but I thought the entire left side of the line has actually played pretty good for 3 weeks in a row now, even in the 2 losses. So we'll see how that translates. Derek Carr, his shoulder has obviously been a problem. It was a little better last week, but we see the Saints rankings there at the bottom left of the screen. Total offense actually went down. They won 34-0, and the offensive ranking went down from 21st to 25th. Their passing offense went down from 20th to 24th. They're doing nothing, Gabe, throwing the football. And the Texans' pass defense isn't great, but this is a game they probably, if you're a Texans fan, you're probably saying, hey, maybe our pass defense will get well this week.
Yeah, I think last weekend was a little deceiving. A lot of people look at it and be like, oh, wow, well, Desmond Ridder cooked them. Yeah, Desmond Ridder did cook the Texans, but the Texans were without multiple pieces in the secondary. Their linebackers are not good in coverage. So, but then at the end of the day, the Houston Texans last week schemed to stop the run, and they did pretty well. Bijan Robinson didn't look fantastic, although he had a few explosive plays that ended up killing him. So I really think last weekend's numbers are a bit deceiving. But if you're the Houston Texans defense, you've got to be licking your chops looking at the Saints offensive numbers.
I agree. But if you're the Saints defense, though, as well as CJ Stroud played, Spencer, the Texans have not been able to run the football. That's been a major disappointment at least for me. I thought they would be able to run it a little bit. I didn't think they would be in the top 10 or anything, but I thought they would be maybe around average and middle of the pack. and it's still early, but to be 27th in the NFL and running the football is not what I expected. Not only from this Houston Texans team, but just from a D'Amico Ryans team in general. When you got a first-year coach who's a rookie head coach who's coming from a defensive background, the one thing you expect is they're going to be able to run the football, and the Texans have not been able to do that.
Right, and I think it has to do with some injuries they've got in the interior of their offensive line. I believe their preseason starting left guard and starting center went on IR, to where their interior of the offensive line is really hurting, and as a result, Dameon Pierce, he's not a great runner, but he's probably a little better than his numbers indicate, because I don't think he's getting the holes needed to like really break many runs. So that's something that the Saints, I feel like, could exploit. And if the Texans can't run it, that's going to force Stroud into making some tough throws. I'm thinking this is a week Stroud throws his first pick. I think the Saints
there's a good chance of that. Yep.
Yeah, the Saints secondary will be able to. I think they're going to give some chunks up, because that just seems like they kind of how they do, but they seem to be good at not breaking. And other than that,
Taylor was reading your mind there, Spencer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yep, great minds think alike. So, I think this is a week it happens, because with all the playmakers back there, I mean, Lattimore, Honey Badger, May, Alontae Taylor, Paulson, Adebo. I mean, that starting five in the secondary is making its mark. And I said earlier, it's going to be a big test. I think they'll give up yards. I think the over might hit, because they could give up some points too. But I think they'll be able to hold them to field goals. I'll reveal my final score pick whenever we get to that. But let's just say I feel like the Texans kicker is going to be pretty busy, because I think they'll be able to move the ball. But Saints defense has proven that they don't break. They're very stout in the red zone.
Yeah, we're going to give our predictions on the Saints at the end of the show as part of the big bucks. It may not be in our big bucks, which is okay. But we're going to all three of us are going to give our predictions on Saints Texans at the end of the show. I do want to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about college football, and then we're going to get to the marquee games of the week, and then we'll have big bucks, and again, we'll make our predictions. So we will be back to Saints Texans, and we will also talk about Thursday night football before the show is over, and we'll each give a prediction on that. Again, whether it's in our big bucks or not, I don't think any of us has that game in our big bucks. That is just that could be a snooze fest. We'll see what happens in that one. All right, LSU and Auburn. The LSU's D, it's been the talk all week long, guys. Can they improve? 3/4 of football, they actually played decent defense. Wow, man, that gets me all fired up. Can they? The good news is, though, they are going against the worst passing offense in the SEC and the Auburn Tigers. Auburn can run the football, Gabe, but they certainly have a lot of trouble throwing the football. To me, this looks like, and as bad as LSU's defense has been against the run, just because they've been bad, period, I think that number is completely misleading, that they're the worst rushing defense in the SEC, because I think LSU is actually going to be stout this week. I think they're going to give Auburn all they can handle.
We've got a lot of mind readers on the show today, Jim, because you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that rushing defense number is a little deceiving with LSU. They stopped the run fairly well last week. They just had a few weeks where they were getting torched all around. I think they're going to hold Auburn on offense. Not to give anything away, but I think there's still going to be a lot of points scored here. I think this game could be relatively close, but I think LSU's defense will continue to improve, because if nothing else, for the sheer fact that it has to. It can't be any worse than what we've seen over the last few weeks. And they looked better against Missouri last weekend, but I mean, you still had the team keeping you on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was still nervy at points.
Spencer, LSU, an 11-point favorite. They typically have issues with Auburn, but this is an interesting matchup. LSU is a far superior team to Auburn, in my opinion. If this were just two generic teams playing against one another, I think LSU should be an even bigger favorite than that. But it all goes to Jayden Daniels on offense. Obviously, to me, he's still a Heisman candidate. He has been playing some outstanding football. He's getting overlooked in a lot of places. I don't think his chances of winning the Heisman are completely dashed yet. At the minimum, I think there's an excellent chance he ends up in New York sitting there with the other guys.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if he can beat Alabama yet again. I mean, he did it last year, and it could definitely do it again with Alabama. being a little vulnerable, having lost to Texas. I mean, they're undefeated in SEC play, but this isn't the same Alabama team that we're used to. But yeah, this is one that for LSU, you can't overlook Auburn. I mean, this is a rivalry game. This is a game that's typically tight, nitty-gritty kind of game like it was last year. Jayden Daniels struggled in this one last year. I think he'll do better this year, but I think this is a week where we see offenses cool down. Over under 61, that's a high number. I see that. I know the trends say LSU overs. I mean, they've hit now 6 weeks in a row, but I think the under is a smart play in this one because Auburn's defense pretty solid there, and I'm thinking LSU's offense, as good as it is, could hit a few roadblocks in this one because Auburn always plays LSU tough, even though it's in Death Valley. I'm thinking this one will be – I think LSU comes away with the win and could cover, but it's just going to be one of those – it's not going to be that fast-paced 7-on-7 type vibe like we saw the past 2 weeks for LSU.
Interesting game for sure. And, one thing, we did not have Datitude this morning. Uncle Big Nick was flying to Vegas. We usually do our pick show. I will read his picks tomorrow, but I'll give you a spoiler alert. One of his picks is he loves the LSU under here. He's with you, Spencer. He thinks that I gotta say I like the under too. And I know one of us has this pick in their big bucks. So we'll let Gabe wait till he gets to his pick in big bucks and explain his thinking one way or the other. But I also like the under because I don't think Auburn's going to score a whole lot of points in this game. I really don't. I think that LSU is actually going to cover that 11 points. I may be the only person in this panel that believes that, but rivalry game or no rivalry game, I think LSU has something to show this week. They're back at home. They haven't played they've only played 2 home games this year. I think that crowd is going to be fired up, ready to go against Auburn. And look, if they get a chance to take out their frustrations on Auburn, I think Auburn's going to have a really tough time moving the ball in general. So we'll see how it goes. So I think LSU wins and covers. I think somewhere along the line of it's going to be like a 34-14 kind of game. We'll see. But we're going to move on. I wanted to talk about Tulane for about a couple minutes because they actually play tomorrow night. And then we're going to get to the marquee matchups and give you our final predictions for the week. The Wave, guys, Spencer, I think it's interesting, this game, because we've talked about this on Monday. We said that basically the winner of this game has a huge advantage. I know they've only played one AAC game, and people talk about UTSA, but we think that they're lousy. They're a fake. Florida Atlantic, I don't think they're any good. SMU could be good, but to me, I think it's one of these two teams are going to win, and the team that wins this game has a huge advantage going through the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. To me, though, there's some value at Memphis. I mean, they're getting points at home, and I know last year Tulane was a much better team than Memphis, and this year I still think they're better, but I just don't like this matchup for them having to go to Memphis on a Friday. Typically, I believe the trends have said that they tend to struggle in Memphis, so this is one where if I had to bet it, I'd take the points with Memphis. Like I said Monday, if anything, I like it even more now that it's 4.5. It was 3.5. It's now moved. So that gives me even more reason to like Memphis there. But Tulane is just, they're legit, though. I mean, you got to admit, like, even though I've been a little skeptical with them, I was thinking they kind of have a hangover after the dream season last year. They have kept their foot on the gas. I mean, the only loss they had was Ole Miss, and that was one that up until the fourth quarter, they were right there with them. So, yeah, this Tulane team, I wouldn't bet. If I had to bet it, I'd bet Memphis, but I ain't putting a mortgage payment on it or anything because this Tulane team could very well get this thing done.
Gabe, when you look at it, the people who bet for a living, because that's really the only people that are betting on this game right now. The average Joe Blow bettor is not going to bet until tomorrow. So the people that know what they're doing, not only have they bet on Tulane, but they bet the total down from 56.5 to 54.5. So I would say, I don't have a stat sheet in front of me, but I would be willing to bet that most of the money and most of the tickets and just about everything is on Tulane in this game. And normally that would be a reason for me to stay away from Tulane. But again, this is people that know what they're doing and make money off this for a living. I'm with Spencer in the fact that I'm probably not going to bet on this at all. But if I had to bet, I'm the opposite way. I think I would take Tulane here because I think that they understand both these teams are coming off of a bye week. both of these teams have had fairly easy schedules going down the way. I think that Tulane has put a lot of focus on this Memphis game. The fact that they haven't won in Memphis since, I don't think any of these kids were born yet, the last time they won in Memphis. I think all that's been talked about this week.
Yeah, I did the a little picks column for this. Think it went up about 30 minutes ago. And I'm in agreement with you, Jim. I like Tulane by about a touchdown in this game for the same exact reasons. I think they put a huge emphasis on it. I think they realize that the winner of this game stays atop the American Athletic and probably won't be dethroned. And, we talk about how Tulane hasn't won in Memphis since 1998. Here's the sad reality. Tulane hasn't had a good football team go to Memphis.
That's true.
For that long. And now I think this is the best team that they've seen in the Liberty Bowl for a while. And I think Tulane gets it done by about a touchdown in the end.
All right. Well, Gabe and I are both on Tulane. Spencer's on the Tigers, but I don't think any of us are running out there to bet a bunch of money on it. I work on Friday nights, so I typically don't bet games on Friday nights, and I'm certainly not going out of my way to bet this one. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch it, but I would take Tulane if I had to. All right, let's talk about the marquee matchups of the week, both in college and the NFL. And I think this is a very interesting week. And I put in the title there, Gabe, the Heisman battle stepping up. Oregon, Washington, USC, Notre Dame. You're talking about Michael Penix. You're talking about Bo Nix. You're talking about Caleb Williams. I think all three of those guys could end up being in New York. And right now, I got to think Michael Penix has the lead on everybody. I mean, Caleb Williams just sneaking one out against Arizona doesn't do anything for me when it comes to his chances. And I have really Michael Penix really caught my eye earlier this year. He has just been phenomenal.
Yeah, and he was phenomenal in this game last year when he led Washington to a win. I think you alluded to it earlier. The reason that Jayden Daniels isn't in these conversations is because LSU has those two losses. And you look at the top two guys, Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, there's not much to separate them. I think this could be the week that we see some separation between the two. Now, I don't know which way it'll lean, but both of these games are toss-ups, both in terms of betting and in general. They could go either way, and we're really going to see these Heisman candidates separate themselves this week.
Spencer, I almost put this Oregon-Washington game in my card. I really like the Huskies this week, but I kind of shied away. I didn't realize it was -3. Thought it was like 2.5. That extra hook makes a difference to me. I don't want to play the money line. It's a little bit too much for me. I'll probably put a bag of potato chips on the Huskies, but I don't love it because Oregon's defense has really been good. And that's hard to say in a Pac-12 game. So I don't know how Michael Penix is going to respond. It's definitely the best defense he's played so far this year. And to me, this is where we find out how good he really is, right? If they can put up like 28, 30 points on this defense, then I'll really start believing that Michael Penix is the favorite. He's already up there somewhere around like +200, +250, depending on where you look. So that, to me, that is the biggest game of the week.
Right, and I think he's a favorite for a reason. I really like the over here because I think Bo Nix will challenge him. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth shootout there, a typical Pac-12 kind of game I see it being, even though they both can play defense, which a lot of times those Pac-12 things into the 70s with the total. But I think that it could end up a 30-something to 30-something kind of game because these offenses, man, they are rolling right now. And Michael Penix, being at home, I think helps to where I don't think Oregon's defense is going to be able to slow him down as much as some are thinking. I mean, he's in such a rhythm right now to where I think they're going to force Bo Nix and company to have to keep up with him. I think they're going to set the tone early at home. And if I had to pick here, I'd probably lean Washington -3, but my best pick here is the over.
Zoe, you all right back there? Just making sure. All I see is flopping around. I don't know. She must not like that pick at all. Well, the unfortunate thing for Zoe is Uncle Big Nick is in complete agreement with you, Spencer. I'll give you another spoiler alert for tomorrow. One of his top picks of the week is he likes the Washington money line parlayed with Oregon. With Oregon. He likes the Washington money line parlay with the over. Oregon. It doesn't take much to mix me up, especially live. There you go. So Washington and the over is one of his top picks. Gabe, what do you like USC and Notre Dame? We're talking in pre-production. I know that Spencer is not on the Notre Dame train, but I think you and I both agree with Notre Dame and SC this week.
Yeah, I think USC might rival LSU as probably the worst Power 5 defense in the country.
I
And
agree.
after two tough losses for Notre Dame, I think they bounce back at home against a historic rival. I really think Caleb Williams cannot save them this time. As great as he's been, I like Notre Dame at home.
Caleb Williams just seems like he's running for his life and trying to do everything all by himself. That's hard to do. I mean, as good as he is, Spencer, it's hard to do. I think I got the gist that you like SC in this game because you don't trust Notre Dame. But I think, like I said in pre-production, my opinion is that Notre Dame, they lay at least one egg a year, maybe two, and the rest of the games you're like, man, why is that team not play that way every year? I think this is going to be the Ohio State Notre Dame team and not the one that was a clunker. So I actually like Notre Dame to win here by a touchdown.
Yeah, I see your point. I mean, Notre Dame's a solid team on paper. I'm just going with the trends here, and Sam Hartman really stunk it up to where I just don't see him being able. I know teams have shredded USC's defense, but I'm thinking they can be opportunistic here, come up with a turnover or two, and Caleb Williams is gonna cook. I mean, Notre Dame's defense is solid, but it's not good enough to slow down Caleb Williams. So it is one of those things where he's having to do it all himself. He'll probably catch an L or two come when he gets into the thick of that Pac-12 stretch with Oregon, Washington, Utah. But I think they come away with this with a win. I think he's determined to stay in this Heisman race. And so you got to beat Notre Dame if you want to then take down those Pac-12 teams. So I'm thinking they get it done.
Not that I'm completely anti-Lincoln Riley, but they're going to be outcoached in this game big time.
Agreed.
That's just my opinion. Well, let's move on. Let's go to the big game in the NFL. Not that it's a weird week in the NFL. It really is. There's a bunch of potential stinkers. There's weather implications. If you like games that involve weather, you're going to like this week because it's going to be the first one of the year, I think, where weather really affects games. And the one it might affect the most is the San Francisco 49ers going to the Cleveland Browns. This game is in my big bucks, and I don't mind talking about it anyway. I'll give spoiler alerts. I'm going to tell you that over under 37, that's one of the lowest over unders you're ever going to see. I think the lowest I've seen the past 3 years, there was a 33. I think Saints and Bucks were 33. And you're not going to see much lower than 37. When you get in the 30s, you're talking real low. I still think it's going to go under. I don't think either one. You're talking about two of the better defenses, if not the best defenses in the NFL going against one another. I don't know what the hell's going on with Cleveland, Gabe. Deshaun Watson all of a sudden is MIA, and it's talking about they're trying to make up something about his shoulder hurting. Give me a break. If you read Kevin Stefanski's lips, and this is what I want a coach to do, tell me the GD truth. And that's what Kevin Stefanski is doing he's calling out Watson without calling him out. At least he's telling me something. It doesn't look like he's going to start. It's starting to look like PJ Walker is going to start this game. He is now the number 2 quarterback. And I still like Cleveland because I think this is a terrible spot for the 49ers coming off an emotional butt whipping of America's team last week. They had geared everything. They put everything into that game. You could tell it before the game, during the game, and the post-game comments after the game. And now they got to go to Cleveland. It's going to be 50 degrees. It's going to be storming, raining. It's going to be about a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing the whole game. There might not be 20 points scored in this game.
No, this is one of those ones that the public looks at these lines and they're licking their lips. I mean, San Francisco -8 against a backup quarterback potentially for Cleveland, or over under 37. Wow. I mean, you got two great teams here. They can easily blow by that. I'm not touching it with the 10-foot ball.
Oh, I am.
This is one of the many ones that it's too unpredictable. I agree with what you're saying, and I could see both of those things. I'm not touching it. You'll see that in my big bucks in a little bit. I don't like many of the NFL games this week, and this is chief among them.
Spencer,
I like the under here. If I had to play this, I'm not touching the spread because this is just, you never know what's gonna happen with turnovers and stuff, especially with this weather. I mean, it's supposed to be the bad weather in Cleveland, so yeah, just you never know with that. But that usually leads to low total, so I'll take the under 37.
All right, I'll get to this. I'll get a bit more on my big bucks picks. It's time for the turkey of the week. We're going to expose that turkey of the week. Here it is. Dun, 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 dun. Gobble, 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 gobble. He's not here. We can still make fun of him. minus 68 again. He is down to 927. He was in the green 2 weeks ago. He's down to 927. The way this starts is we all started with 1,000 fake big buck dollars, whatever you want to call them. I think the company should actually give us $1,000 and let us bet it. That's just my opinion. Maybe we should throw that out there and see what happens. Gabe is the only one still in the green. He's $1 ahead. I have climbed after one bad week a couple weeks ago. I've climbed my way back. I'm now $5 back to within being green. The Guru is kind of if he had a 3-2 record, but he lost money last week because his top 2 picks lost. It was an interesting week for sure. So we're going to go in order from what you see on the screen from the turkey to me in the order we had last week. It starts with Thomas, and he's not here again. He had a issue with the family. Got his little turkey in there. He's looking so good. He is pushing the limits, by the way, of our rules. You cannot bet over $100. We let you slide with the juice, but he's got some extra juice here. He's got a 7-point teaser. Rams even over Arizona and Dallas +5 over the LA Chargers on Monday night. Actually like that teaser. Minus 140 is a high price to pay. We'll see. He's got South Carolina -2 over Florida, 26 to win 20. That line actually kind of changed a little bit after he sent it in, I think, but is now minus 130 at -2. Then he's got Notre Dame. Also, that's a minus 120 because that spread literally changed about an hour and a half ago. It is now 3, but you could still get 2.5, minus 2.5. I don't know if that's a plus or minus. It's supposed to be minus 2.5 at minus 120. And then you see the other picks there. He likes Texas Tech, and he likes the Texas Tech Kansas State over. All right, we're going to move on to Gabe this week. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Gabe. No, I'm sorry. I was right. Spencer, you're next. Spencer, go a little bit. We got a 2-minute limit.
Cool. Yeah, I like the Ravens this week in London. You know, they're coming off a stinker last week, but I think they'll bounce back against the Titans, who Gabe and I agree are just awful. So give me the Ravens there to cover. Like North Carolina, 2 to cover is one of my other best bets. I feel like Miami's just, coming off that debacle last week, I just don't see them being able to keep up with UNC. Drake May's the truth, man. Give me North Carolina there with the laying the points. Then I have my upset special going with Bill Belichick. I know he stunk up the joint the last 2 weeks, but this is a revenge narrative here against the Raiders and Josh McDaniels. I don't think the Patriots will win many games this year, but I think this is one they sneak by with a win with. So give me them on the money line. Also like Seahawks at Bengals, the over. Joe Burrow looks healthy again. Geno Smith. They both those guys can sling it. That's going to be a shootout, I feel like. So give me the over there, 45 points. And then got another teaser this week. Hit my teaser last week. Going to try to keep that momentum going. Got the Eagles -1 over the Jets. I think that's going to be an ugly game, but I think Philly finds a way. And then the Bears +8.5 against the Vikings. I think the Bears could possibly win that thing outright, but Justin Fields, they can sling it. So I think they'll be able to at least cover that, come within about a touchdown.
I found that North Carolina-Miami game super interesting after Miami's debacle last week. How do they follow up? I think they either come back super strong and beat North Carolina, or they just get the doors blown off of them. And I got to be honest, I have no idea which one's going to happen. I will be watching that with a lot of interest because I do think North Carolina is a really good football team. We'll see how that goes. Man, Miami. What a mess that was last week.
They're back.
They're back. Gabe, speaking of back, you're back. You're 10-10 overall, man. You are $1 above 500. What are you going to do with that big old buck?
I think my favorite play this week is Patriots Raiders under 41.5. Between these two teams, they've scored 20 points a combined one time. And that was the Patriots in week 1, scoring 20 at home against the Eagles, against a banged up Eagles offense, or a defense rather. I don't think these teams will score points. I actually kind of like Spencer's pick with the Patriots to win it. I'm siding with Belichick. I think he's the better coach, but I'm not touching that. I like the under. Oregon, Washington, I'm actually fading you guys. I'm going under 66. Oregon's gone under in 4 of their last 5. Washington's gone under.
Fading us twice.
5. Yeah. 3-2-1 is the under 66 in the last meetings between these guys. And I just think the stakes are too high for the defenses to make that many mistakes. I think both these defenses are going to show up. I think it'll be a battle. I'm not picking the game, but I do like the under. My upset special, I like Texas A&M over Tennessee. As you guys know, I don't like betting Texas A&M, but I'm going with the Sharps here. Sharps love the Aggies 3.5, but I like them to win outright. I just don't think you can bet Tennessee after what happened in Florida a few weeks ago. I think A&M's defense is actually a lot better than advertised. I think they're going to show up, and I think at the end of the day, it's a get-right game for Jimbo and company, and I think they get it done.
Bad news for you, Gabe. I really like that pick. That's really
not after last week.
That is really bad.
The reason you're picking after me here. My last two picks, I like Rutgers 4.5 over Michigan State. Rutgers, as all the memes are saying, they're undefeated against the spread this season. So I like them to keep that up. I think Michigan State's a terrible football team. And then I like Auburn LSU over 61 points. I'm not touching that spread with the 10-foot pole. I'm not a fan of many of the spreads this week, or just betting in general on this football slate this weekend is not great. So I'm going to go with the trends. I like LSU to go over. I actually do sort of agree with you, Jim. I think LSU can cover the 11. I'm just not touching it in an LSU Auburn game. I've seen this story too many times. So I'm going to go with the tried and true over with the LSU offense this week.
Yeah.
I think they can do most of the legwork themselves.
I think the rivalry thing isn't as big of a deal this year. Again, LSU's got so many damn rivals now. To me, they put heart and soul against Auburn. That one hurt. But they were able to get back on track against Missouri. I think they have a lot to prove. More than the rivalry aspect, I just think they have a lot to prove. We'll see how the over-under goes. I'm not going to play that. If I had to play it, like I said, I would play under, but I don't have any qualms with taking the over. Uncle Big Nick likes the under. He's been pretty good with those. We'll see what happens. All right, for me, trying to keep this train rolling. Again, it's been a couple good weeks after a really bad one a couple weeks ago. I'm sticking with the teaser. I've kind of mixed up this teaser between my NFL picks column and here. Some numbers have changed, which changed my thinking. So I actually had the Browns 49ers as my best bet a couple days ago. The more I see with this damn Deshaun Watson thing, it's scaring me off of it being a best bet, but it does of being my best bet of the week. But it doesn't scare me off from putting it on the card. I still like the Browns +8. When you're talking about an over-under of 37 and you're going to give me 8 points with one of those teams, it's still an NFL team. And P.J. Walker has shown that he is capable of playing good football. He helped the Panthers win some games last year, and he is a journeyman, but I think he's a good enough quarterback to get things done. And like I said, to me, this is more about the spot for the 49ers than anything else. This is a terrible, absolutely awful spot for the 49ers. Everyone is crowning them. Remember when they were crowning the Cowboys after week 2? Cowboys are the best team on the planet. And I was guilty of saying it too because I was on the Cowboys before the season started. Well, guess what? Cowboys aren't as good as we think they thought they were. And the 49ers, I don't think they're as good as everybody thinks they are either. And again, they go out. I would not touch the 49ers in a survivor pool this week. I think the Browns could be the upset special of the week. I really think Cleveland can win this game straight up, whether it's P.J. Walker, whether it's Deshaun Watson. I don't care. I'm staying away from that in the survivor pool. Teaser this week, I've been doing okay, a little bit better. I like these numbers. Look, I think the Texans are going to win this game. I know we're going to get to our Saints picks. I just don't like the Saints in this game. I don't think it's a good matchup for them. I don't like the way they played last week, even in a 34-0 game. I know that's weird to say. I love the way the defense played and stepped up, but this offense has so many issues that they can't seem to figure out. And until they figure it out, I just can't get on their bandwagon. I don't like them this week. I think that Houston is going to be the more fired up team. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Saints went into Houston and kind of went through the motions. But if you're going to give me 7.5 in a teaser, I'm certainly going to take that along with the Patriots +8.5. I'm with you guys. And then my other picks, you see them on the screen here. I'll go through them real quick because I know I'm over my time. Commanders +2.5. I think they're going to win this game straight up over the Falcons. By the way, the Falcons, 2 of their 3 victories have been by exactly 2 points. So that's another reason why I like that. And my little money line parlay, Jacksonville over Indy, Philadelphia over the Jets. And then a team total. I don't ever do this, but I do it here because the Titans aren't going to London until tonight. They aren't leaving until tonight to go to London. I don't know. This could be a 10-7 kind of game, which is why I'm staying away. Or it could be Lamar Jackson goes off. I'm not sure which, but I don't think the Titans get to 19 points. I really don't. So that is my best bet there. All right, we're going to finish the show by talking about, I've already told you who I like. I think the Saints are going to lose a nail biter this week. I think they lose in a last second heartbreak kind of way. Spencer, what is your thought? What are your thoughts?
I could see it, but I'm feeling a little more optimistic because I just feel like the Saints are a much more experienced team here, where I think they'll find a way to get it done. Texans are just so dependent on rookies. I think they'll play well. This is going to be a close game, but I think the Saints will find a way in the fourth quarter. I think Derek Carr steps up and leads a drive to win. It's Saints 24, Texans 23.
Gabe, you're the Houston homer. Are you going to be a homer this week, or I'm the anti-homer? So
I don't know. I'm torn. I've gone back and forth on this game. One thing I do like is the over. I really do. I think both offenses have enough weapons to get this done. If I had to pick right now, I would lean Saints in a close game, but you could also hear me in an hour saying that I like the Texans to win a close game too. It goes back and forth.
Joey Luna says I'm insane. He says Houston's not winning. There's not even a chance. The spread's 1.5, Joey. By the way, just a little grammar tip. It's YOU''RE. That's it. I'm just saying. It's just one of those English things that bothers me.
Not even a chance is crazy.
Yeah, well, it's -1.5 for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean that Vegas thinks that this is going to be some blowout like the Thursday night game. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if the Saints won. But it just, I don't think they're going to. Again, this is a spot where they go to Houston and lay an 8. By the way, the last time the Saints won in Houston, they were playing the Oilers, and neither one of you two guys were born yet. So I'm just saying that's how long it's been since the Saints won in Houston. There's a reason why it's a tight game. It started out at 2.5, by the way, and it's dropped. The people with money have bet on the Texans this week.
But put it this way, Joey. I don't think anyone in the world had the Texans beating the Steelers 30-6. Yeah. So I wouldn't ever say that there's no way with this team.
Yep, I agree. So anyway, either way, it's not. I'm not going to bet on it except in that teaser. Again, I love that teaser. I do have the Texans in my best bet as well, so maybe I'm going to bet. I don't know. We'll see how I bet on it. Put it this way. How I bet on it is probably going to change because depending on how the numbers change and the other lines. I don't like any lines in the NFL. This is a really super weird week. I had to come up with 5 best bets for the NFL. I came up with them, and as you see, I came up with them in a weird way. Like I'm not just coming straight at you. I got all kinds of weird stuff going on. Shows you I don't like the lines. I don't like this one either. Tonight, Thursday Night Football. Kansas City is a 10.5-point favorite over the Broncos. Kansas City has won 15 straight games in the series, but the last 3 have been close. Sean Payton against Kansas City, he has never beaten the Chiefs, but he's also been within 6 points in each of those losses. I think this is a closer kind of game, guys. I'll start with you, Gabe. I think this is kind of a sleepwalk kind of Kansas City victory. Travis Kelce's banged up. He's supposed to play. How much he's going to play, I don't know. But I think Kansas City's going to win, but I think it's going to be one of those ugly games where you kind of turning off back and forth between baseball or something.
Yeah, we're almost a year removed from probably one of the worst football games I've ever seen with my own eyes, and that was Broncos-Colts on Thursday Night Football last year. It's fitting that this one's here. I do agree with you, Jim. I think the Chiefs will go through the motions, similar to how they did against the Jets a few weeks ago. I'm just this isn't going to be a nice watch. So unless you like ugly football, I would recommend staying away. Go watch some baseball tonight. There's some good baseball on.
Yeah, I will probably play it small because I'm a degenerate and I have nothing better to do. So I'll probably put a couple bucks on the Broncos. But I certainly, we joke about the mortgage payment, Spencer, but I might only put like a piece of bologna or a piece of cheese on the Broncos tonight.
I'd put a piece of cheese on the Chiefs, because Denver they're bad, bro. They are just, I don't see them coming very close here. I think they might start off okay, but once Mahomes gets in a rhythm, Denver's defense is just dreadful. So I think the Chiefs win it by about 2 touchdowns.
Well, another thing about this as well, too, and we never talked about, well, not never, but hardly talked about is when you're talking about division games, I guarantee you when Sean Payton took this job, what's the game that he circled first on his calendar? It's this one, I promise you. And maybe that's part of the reason why they've kind of stunk a little bit, because trust me, when you become the coach of the Denver Broncos, who do you think about? You think about Andy Reid, you think about Patrick Mahomes. you think about Travis Kelce. So I guarantee he's been thinking about this. Whether it matters or not, it may not. They may get blown out anyway, but I think it's going to be a tighter game than any of us think. It would shock me if Denver actually won the game straight up, but it would not shock me if it goes into the fourth quarter and you're like, if you got Kansas City in a survivor pool, you're like going, oh, did I make the right decision? We'll find out. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Last thoughts. I'll give you each 20 seconds. Gabe, what you got?
Jim, you said it on Monday. You're excited to watch CJ Stroud for a full game. I'm excited for your reaction to it. So, all I got to say.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Spencer, what you got?
Yeah, speaking of baseball, Braves-Phillies, the only DS series still going. I think the Braves make a comeback. I know they're down 2-1. I just don't see them falling to the Phillies 2 years in a row. So I think the Braves win 2 in a row to advance to the CS.
I think they pissed the Phillies off with their little stuff about Bryce Harper. I mean, why would you go and piss Bryce Harper off?
It's like chanting, "We want Houston."
Exactly. I mean, he was he was sleeping. He was kind of sleepwalking. He hasn't been, he had a really good last 3 weeks of the season and then just kind of like slept through the first couple. And now you're going to go and piss him off? That makes no sense. I mean, then you got Kyle Schwarber, who's like a football player ready to hit somebody. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to take the Phillies. We'll talk more about it next week. I promise we will have baseball on this show and we will talk a little Pels. Their season opener is coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks they open their season. So we will be beginning to kind of shift from all football. We got to squeeze some baseball, getting closer to the World Series. Definitely got to talk about Pelicans. That's coming up too. We thank you for joining us. Datitude will be back tomorrow morning. Larry Holder will be with me. I will give my official Saints pick. I'll give you a score tomorrow. Maybe I'll change my mind by then. I probably won't, but maybe I will. Who knows? We'll see what Larry Holder thinks, and we'll talk about the NFL, the Week 6 edition and the biggest games, and we'll see what he thinks about 49ers Browns, whether he agrees with me or not. Probably not. He doesn't usually. We'll see how that goes. Everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the football. It's going to be beautiful weather here, not like the Midwest where it's going to be nasty. So go out and enjoy it. 70 degrees outside. We will talk to you on Monday. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Peace and love, my friends.